So, let's talk firstly about structured proposals. All right? The first thing that you have to think about, and it's really important actually, it's probably one of the most important parts of a structured proposal, is what the emphasis of the funding instrument is. Okay? And you really need to spend a lot of time thinking about what that is. Okay? So don't think that you can just make a generic funding proposal and use that over and over again. All right? You need to, every time you write a proposal, think about what is the body that's going to give me the funding, hopefully. What are they wanting from me? What is their emphasis? All right? What do they want to get at the end of the 2-year MSc degree that you're about to do, or the end of the 3-year Tatuka project that they're going to give you research funding for? What do they want from you? And I'll show you some examples of that. To find out what the emphasis of the funding document is, you've got to go to the call document. All right? You've got to go to the call document and say, and read that really carefully and say, what are they looking for? What do they want to see? Then something which I can't really talk about for everyone in the audience is the science and the ideas. Right? You have to, especially in a research proposal, you have to get across the science that you want to perform. Okay? And you have to transmit an idea. So perhaps at the end we can talk about some scientific ideas that you think may be good ideas for a proposal. The other aspect, actually the really nice aspect of structured proposals, is that they often come with a reviewer scorecard. Right? So someone, either a colleague or a supervisor or someone in the NRF, is going to read this proposal that you submit, and most of the time they're given a scorecard. The NRF or the funding body will say to them, this is how I want you to score this proposal. And so if you can get access to that, and most funding bodies give you that in their call document, then you can kind of understand what they want the reviewers to look for. Okay, so that's really important to try to find a reviewer scorecard for whatever proposal you are submitting to. So an example of these kinds of structured proposals would be things like the freestanding NRF scholarships, Tatuka research funding for incoming researchers, Blue Sky research. Right, they all have a very similar structure, which you see there. What's also really important to note is that and this is really everything you see here under details of research. That's really the meat of the proposal. Right? That's where you're going to spend most of your time. The rest of this is sort of tick boxes and things that are quite easy to do. But the details of research are really important. And for some funding bodies, what they actually want you to write there can be kind of confusing. Okay? So how is and also the order. They put potential impact first. Before you've told the reviewer anything, you have to tell them what the impact of the project is before they read anything about the problem statement or the literature review. And so you really have to pay attention to the way in these structured proposals the reviewer is going to read the information. So it changes the way you write the proposal. And for the NRF in particular, this order is very confusing, all right, for a reviewer, and even for you as you write the proposal. Okay? Has anyone written one like this before? I think the freestanding scholarships are like this. Am I right? Similar fields that you have to fill in? Or has no one done a freestanding application? Who's done something structured like this? Problem statement, literature review. Okay, a few people, right? So this is the NRF. So if you're in the South African system, you're likely to apply to the NRF. This order makes it really confusing because you start with potential impact, and you have to not just talk about potential impact, but you have to tell the reviewer and introduce your project in the potential impact section. Right? Then you have to give a rationale and a literature review and a problem statement after that without sounding too repetitious, without repeating yourself too much. So it's a tricky thing to write and to make sure you aren't giving too much information or repeating yourself too much. So the first thing I want to deal with is the emphasis of the funding instrument. All right, so here are two examples. Okay, here are two examples of funding guides which you can get. The one you see on the left-hand side here is for a Blue Skies funding instrument, and the other is for a Tutuka grant. These are two research or grants that give research money, not just for running costs, but also for students. Okay? And although it's very small, I put this here to try and emphasize what the different emphases of the call are. All right? So what are they trying to emphasize? What do they want the researcher to do at the end of 2 or 3 years, or the student? Okay? So let's look at the Blue Sky call. Here, they highlight in bold for you exactly what they want, the key words, the buzzwords that they want you to put in your proposal. All right? They're looking for self-initiated, curiosity-driven research. Okay? Research that represents an investment risk. All right? They're looking for those words in your proposal. Okay? The other one there is the Tutuka Award for Early Career Scientists. And here, they're looking for a bunch of things, right? So some of these awards are given to doctoral students, and so they're looking for promotion of early career academics to get PhDs. They're looking for research development of early career academics. They're looking for skills development, really. Okay? And all the key words that you need to use are in these call documents. Okay? So you need to look for those kind of bolded words in the call document and to put them into your research proposal. So the majority of you are students, right? So let's have a little bit of interaction now. I haven't put a student call document there. Okay? What do you think the buzzwords would be if you were the NRF for a student? When you write your proposal, what do you think they're wanting to hear from you? Because before you even start writing the proposal, you need to identify those buzzwords. What do you guys think? If you were the NRF and I'm going to give you, I don't know, over 2 years, 300,000 Rand or 200,000 Rand to fund your studies, what do I want to get back at the end? Yes, Priyanka.
A novel study.
Okay, a novel study, yeah. Right, something which is interesting and advances the science, yeah. Okay, innovative research, definitely. But there's more. I think there's something more important in the South African context. The type of impact, sure. But what about you? The NRF is funding you, right? They want to see MSCs and PhD students and maybe honors students graduating. Right? They want to know that you're going to get skills that other people don't have. Okay? So if you were writing a Blue Skies project or a Tutuka project, then I would want to see something about, really cool research, innovative idea, blah, 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 the things that you mentioned. But a student project, you want that, but you also want to say, me, the student, I'm going to be able to go to a laboratory that I wouldn't have been able to go to before with your funding. I'm going to be able to gain a skill or work with a professor that I wouldn't have been able to work with before, and I'm going to get skills that lots of South Africans don't have. All right? That's why the NRF gives people money, students money, right? They want the students to gain skills and to be able to move into higher echelons of industry and to there do exciting research, right? So that's an example of thinking about what the funding body wants to get out of the instrument. What do they actually want to get out of giving you the money? Okay. In the case of students, they want to see human capital development. That would be the buzzword, right? Human capital development. You are capital sitting in this room, and they want you to develop. All right? And by getting an MSc or an honors or PhD, you are developing human capital. Okay. So read these funding guides really carefully. It's also important because in the funding guides, they normally have reviewer scorecards. So they normally have tables that this comes from a Tutuka, or maybe a Blue Skies funding call. And you can see that they tell the reviewer, this is not for the person writing it necessarily, it's for the reviewer who's going to review your project. They're telling them how to mark and how to weight the different sections that are in the proposal. But this is really cool for the person who's writing it, because you are able here to understand what the reviewer is looking for. All right? You can see that they're placing a lot of emphasis in this proposal on the research approach. 50% of the score comes from whether this is a novel project. Okay? I can guarantee you that in a student funding application, the scorecard will look different. The scorecard is looking to see whether this project is doable by the student, whether they can graduate in the time, whether the student is a capable student. All right? And so the emphasis will be different. And you need to know that when you're writing the proposal. And every proposal through any funding body will have some kind of review process. I think mainly for student funding for like MSc and PhD, the NRF has their own panel of reviewers. But if you're applying for a scientific proposal, okay, then you will have your peers in the field, right? So like for a Tutuka proposal or Blue Sky, you have to list reviewers that are scientists who are going to review the quality of your work, and they're going to rank it according to these criteria. Okay, so that's a structured proposal. And if you want at the end, we can go through some of those different headings and boxes and discuss more about what the NRF may want in some of those boxes.